Fellow Tamers and Digidestined, it's Mike, aka Sanaku from Overground, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over episode 2 of our BT7 Rainbow series, where we're going to be covering the color green. Now, we alluded to in the first episode that we're in a very heavy hybrid meta, and guess what? The next couple decks you're going to be seeing, they're very hybrid heavy. So let's go ahead and talk about the green deck. Now, there is a green hybrid list that's kind of running around, and it's pretty standard. What you're going to see here isn't, too much off the beaten path. But we tried to do a couple things, a couple changes to kind of make it a bit more unique, to put our own, special Overground spin on it. And I hope that you enjoy what you see today. So I've affectionately dubbed this green Bug-Brid as opposed to green hybrid. Now, the green hybrid lists in general do play, regular Betamon online insects, stuff like that. But this version of the deck, we put up a couple more insects in, and I'll explain why as we get through it. Now, let's start with the eggs. And already, this is kind of the first aspect of the deck that I want to change, because I have not settled on eggs that I'm actually like 100% sold on. So right now I'm playing 4 copies of Betamon and 1 copy of Betamon. And I think I want to swap this to be 4 Minnow, 1 Pina. I know some lists are playing like a 3-2 split as well, because certain eggs are good in certain situations. I haven't quite landed on what I believe is the perfect set yet. I like Pina right now just because it does give us more consistency, but this deck has so much draw power and search power that I don't think that you actually need it. I think you need the DP boost a little bit more. So for the sake of the argument, I'm going to present the deck as is this way, but just know that there is a world where I believe the opposite of this ratio is actually more correct. So let's go ahead and get into our rookies. And, speaking of search power, we got 4 copies of Betamon. Betamon is not quite the green equivalent of like Flamemon and Strawbymon, but it'll do. Because on play, we get to look at the top 3 cards of our deck. We had 1 green level 4 Digimon specifically, or 1 green Tamer card. But we have a lot of powerful level 4s. A lot of level 4s are going to be our play starters in this deck. But the most important thing about Betamon is that it gets our green Tamers into our hand, because green Tamers are going to be very important, as we are a hybrid deck. Moving on, we're playing 4 copies of starter deck Palmon. This is another way to give ourselves a DP boost. Piercing is very important in this deck, so having extra DP boost is very important, which is why I alluded to the fact that we might play more copies of Betamon instead. We're playing a very thin rookie lineup, and I'll explain why as we go through the rest of the deck, but here's where we make the deck a bit more unique. We're playing 2 copies of the EX Tentomon. And Tentomon reads that is inheritable when attacking. The next time one of our Digimon digivolves into a Digimon with Insectoid or Ancient Insect in its traits, we can reduce the memory of the Digivolution by 1. Now, fun fact, every single Thunder hybrid, so anything in the Betamon JP line, they are all insects, which means they qualify for this reduction. Furthermore, everything in our top end is also going to be an insect or an ancient insect as well. So there's a fun, cool combos that you can do with this Tentomon that we'll talk about a little bit later. And finally, to round out our main rookie lineup, we're playing 2 copies of Terriermon. Again, similar to the Chumon in the last video, there's a lot of memory gain and memory reduction that we're seeing in this format, and Terriermon just helps us turn that off. And to complement that, to finish off our rookie lineup, we're playing 4 copies of Bokomon. We are a hybrid deck. This is an additional layer of consistency that helps us get into our Tamers and get into our main engine a little bit faster. So we've got 8, 10, 12 actual green rookies, so you might brick on rookies a little bit more. But in this deck, playing a Tamer down turn 1 is essentially the same as playing a rookie, because you're going to be evolving over your Tamers consistently as well. So let's go into our champion lineup. We're playing 4 copies of Betamon. Betamon, again, Betamon is more so the Flamemon of the Strawbymon, which is weird because he's in a level 4. But when digivolving, we reveal the top 3, is it 3 or 5? No, 5. 5 cards in our deck. We had 1 card with hybrid in its traits and 1 JP specifically. So while Betamon can get us any green Tamer at a level 4, Betamon can get us any other hybrid as well as JP specifically. Next, we're playing 4 copies of Metal Kabuterimon, Jesus. And Metal Kabuterimon evolves for 3 on a level 3 or 1 on a level 4, but its stipulation states that when you're digivolving on top of a Tamer specifically, it only costs 2. So it's no different than any of the standard level 4 hybrids as well. But what makes Metal Kabuterimon really cool is that if we evolve over a card with hybrid in its traits, or we have JP in our source, we can target one of our opponent's Digimon 6000 DP or less and suspend it. And this just helps us get into our piercing strategy a little bit more consistently. And to round out level 4s, we're playing 2 more hybrids. We're playing 2 copies of Arbomon. Arbomon, again, is just evolve over any Tamer for 2. So this is why I'm saying that all of our Tamers are also play starters, because every single one of our level 4s in this deck is a hybrid. So no matter what we draw at any point in time, as long as we have a Tamer in play and we have one of these level 4s in our hand, we are able to actually still go up our chain and get our combos going. Next, for our level 5s, we're playing 4 copies of Rhino Kabuterimon. This is our main level 5 hybrid. And Rhinocarboterimon, if you evolve it over something that has a tamer in its Digivolution source, the evolution cost is actually reduced by 2. So he could potentially become a 1-cost evolver, which is actually very, very strong. And what makes Rhinocarboterimon really cool is that when we attack with him, if we have a card with Hybrid or Insectoid in its Digivolution cards, which, again, every single one of our level 4s is going to be a hybrid, so in order to evolve into Rhinocarboterimon in general, we will always meet that condition, or an Insectoid even. Anyway, if we declare an attack and we have one of these cards in its source, we get to Digivolve this Digimon into a card with Insectoid or 10 Warriors in its traits in our hand for a cost of 3. And this helps us cheat out some of the 10 Warriors and Insectoids cards that we have already in the deck. So some of them cost 4 or 5, that means they're going to cost 3. Enter Tentomon. If this Tentomon is in a source where we're swinging with a Rhinocarboterimon, then we can actually reduce that evolution by 2. So instead of evolving into an Insectoid or 10 Warriors for 3, we're actually evolving for 2 instead, which is very powerful. And to round out our level 5s, we're just playing some ways to get into our plays a little bit faster. So we're playing a small download package. We're playing 2 Blossom and 1 Argomon. Now we're moving on to our level 6s, and our level 6 lineup is a little eclectic, and I'll explain why as we go through it. So we did say this is Ancient Bug-Brid. So we're playing 4 copies of the Ancient Betamon. This is kind of a given. You're going to see this in every green hybrid list as well. An Ancient Betamon normally costs 5 to evolve, but because of the Rhinocarboterimon, we can cheat it into play if we absolutely need it. But Ancient Betamon reads that once per turn, if one of our Digimon with 10 Warriors or hybrid in its traits deletes an opponent's Digimon and survives, we get to trash the top card of their security. Now, combo this with Piercing, this is very powerful. It essentially gives us security attack, +2, or +1, sorry, at the end of the day. And on deletion, just like every other Ancient, we can play 1 level 4 or lower hybrid from our hand without playing its cost. Now, unfortunately, there are no level 3 hybrids yet, as far as I know, but that pretty much means that every single one of our level 4s here are going to be fair game to be right out with Ancient Betamon's effect. Next, we're playing 1 copy of Ancient Troymon. This is just another 10 Warriors that we could potentially hit off of our Rhino Betamon. And it's also a very good stall card if we're ever in the situation where we need it. Ancient Troymon, if one of our opponent's Digimon attacks, we can suspend up to 2 of their other Digimon to blocker. I only am playing this at 1 because, again, with hybrid meta, your opponent is generally only keeping 1 Digimon up at a time, and then they're saving their Tamers to evolve up in their play starters after they've done their main plays for the turn, or they're evolving into their Tamers as finishers to end the game. So they rarely have multiple Digimon in play to actually get value to get suspended by Ancient Troymon. So I'm just playing this as a 5th 10 Warriors to search off of our Bokomons and everything like that, and to hit off Rhino if necessary. But I'm potentially, implied to take this out, and this could be one of those cards that goes into the side deck of this deck potentially down the road. And now, to finish off the bug aspect of the deck, we're playing 2 copies of Hercules Carboterimon, but we're playing 2 different copies of Hercules Carboterimon, and I'll explain why. So first of all, we're playing the starter deck Hercules Carboterimon, and then we're going to be playing the new promo campaign rare Hercules Carboterimon that came out in BT7 as well. So why are we playing these cards? Well, first of all, they're Insectoids, which means that we can evolve them into Rhinocarboterimon for 3, and in combination with our Tentomon, that we can potentially cheat them out even cheaper. So this Hercules Carboterimon normally costs 4, and it has Piercing natively. With Digiburst 2, we can spend one of our opponent's Digimon. Now, this Piercing is important because it allows us to get a Digimon with Piercing into play if we do not have JP in that source. So if we end up evolving natively up into the Rhinocarboterimon, that means that we can evolve into the Hercules Carboterimon, still get Piercing, and still kind of maintain that advantage against our opponent. Furthermore, if this Hercules Carboterimon does survive and it goes into the next turn, depending on how big our stack is, because we now have the Digiburst ability, and depending on how the rest of our board is set up and how much memory we have, we can suspend our opponent's Digimon for free without having to burn any additional effects, go up into any other stacks that we potentially have, which means we can set up an Ancient Betamon on the next turn, and then we can run over something that we've suspended through this Hercules Carboterimon's effect, get that additional trash, and then if this is evolved over a JP, we get Piercing. If not, we still get an additional security check regardless. Then we're playing the 1 copy of the campaign rare. This one, I'm tempted to actually just make it 2 copies of the starter deck, but because I have 1 copy of this, I felt that it was kind of cool just to show off. And it's similar to Ancient Betamon. When it destroys something by battle and survives, you get a bonus effect, and in this case, it's going to be you gain 1 memory. So the reason that I wanted to play this Hercules Carboterimon in this list is because of the combo we mentioned with Rhino and Tentomon. If we swing with Rhino for 2, we activate the effect to evolve for 3. This costs 3 to evolve normally, keep that in mind. And then we activate the Tentomon's effect, now we're evolving for 2, so now we swing. If we run into a situation where our opponent has already something suspended and we can just run it over with this Hercules Carboterimon, we're going to gain 1 memory back, which means that this is now a level 6 evolution that only cost us 1 memory. And it gives us more opportunities in our turn to keep making other plays without having necessarily commit to ending our turn immediately. And not only that, on Digivolving, if we have a tamer in play, we can suspend one of our opponent's Digimon as well, which really helps for follow-up plays down the road as well. Because again, if we start the turn with 3, for example, then we only end up paying 1 memory. That means we've gone into this Hercules Commentary Mon for 1, we've suspended something else, we've destroyed something, and now we can evolve into like a Betamon or something after the fact, and then just run something else over again, and just keep putting that pressure on the opponent by keeping them off of their resources. Now let's go ahead and talk about the tamers. So the 4 JPs here. JP is a really cool tamer because it actually reduces the evolution cost of any hybrid that you would evolve over top of him. And if this tamer specifically would evolve, the evolution costs are reduced by 1. So that means if you do go into any one of our hybrids, they're going to cost 1 by default, which is really, really cool. And then JP's inheritable is that he gives whatever evolved into him piercing. Then we're playing 2 copies of the starter deck Izzy. This combos with our overall suspend strategy because every time one of our opponent's Digimon is suspended, we can suspend him to gain 1 memory. This just helps us, again, extend our plays a little bit more. And then we're playing 2 copies of Mimi. This is our memory setter so that we go to 3 every turn, while also giving us an opportunity to hatch more eggs and get more rookies into play to keep pressuring our opponent. And then finally, the last 2 cards we're playing in the deck is just 2 Thunder Laser. This is kind of a replacement for Flower Cannon because we're playing a hybrid deck specifically, and Thunder Laser reads that if we have a Digimon with hybrid or 10 warriors in its traits, we can suspend one of our opponent's Digimon. And so again, with Izzy, this basically becomes a free card, and then it gives us access into our piercing win condition and just plow through our opponent's Digimon. There is an argument to play Suzunoamon in this deck. Unfortunately, I just haven't been able to find the space. But there are cards that you can take out. Like, you don't need to play this extra download package. I just want to play it because I'm playing a significant amount of level 6s, so I want to make sure I didn't brick on level 5s. You could probably reduce your Pokemon count because you have so much searches as well through the course of Betamon and Betamon. You can even reduce your Betamon count as well. There's a lot of opportunities for kind of wiggle room in this deck, and it's all basically on what your playstyle is and what you feel comfortable with. But yeah, so that is it for our green episode of the Rainbow series, affectionately called Green Bug-Brid. If you guys have any questions, comments, or suggestions about this deck, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I have been Mike, aka Sanaku, once again. Thanks so much for watching, and if you like what we do here at the Overground, please consider giving us a subscription. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you all in the next one.